Welcome to What's Cooking New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, the dietitian with the Heart's Beat Back, Heart of New Ulm project, working to reduce and eventually eliminate heart attacks in the 56073 zip code. All right, so many people have asked how we can come back to those lunches in a hurry, how we can make sure we're following what we've said, staying active, eating well, and yet still getting to work on time. So today we're going to put together a little chicken Waldorf salad. And this is going to keep in your refrigerator for several days, and yet we're going to get some vegetables, some fruit, some great protein in here, and it's going to be very complete and really, really tasty. So that's going to be our first recipe of the night. All right, so as we look at the ingredients that we'll be using, we have our celery, we have our apples, and I did pick up Honeycrisp tonight. These are delicious, and it's the best time of the year to be using these apples. You know, any variety is going to work well, but the Honeycrisp is going to have a sweet flavor and is really delicious. Our walnuts are going to be a good source of protein. Remember, as we talk about the Mediterranean diet, we're looking for those foods that are high in those poly and monounsaturated fats. Nuts are going to fit that category well. We're looking for those to bring up our good cholesterol and down our bad. Do note, though, if you are looking at weight loss, nuts are not going to always be the best option for you. They are high in calorie, and we do need to be very careful with our portion sizes. We're going to get in some grapes. We're going to use our chicken breast. Again, another good source of protein that's going to be a little bit lower in saturated fat. And then we're going to have some lemon juice, which is going to bring out the flavor of the apples. And our dressing tonight is going to be a low-fat mayo, which I purchased that has based on olive oil, the olive oil dressing. And then it's mixed with some low-fat yogurt. Together, we're going to reduce those calories by doing it that way, not having that heavy mayo base to this, and yet we're going to have some great flavor. So let's go ahead and start cooking. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to dice up these chicken breasts. Now, the recipe calls for about 3/4 of a pound. I'm going to actually add a little bit more. These are filling, and they have good flavor. And you know, even if you don't choose to add all of the chicken into your salad tonight, it's nice to keep that extra chicken breast that's already cooked in your refrigerator. It's a great way to use it into your wet recipes, add a low-fat, low-cholesterol protein into your diet. And you know, the only way we do it is if we have it ready to go. So let's make up a little bit of extra. We'll set that aside after we're done cooking, and it will be ready for another snack another day. All right? So I'm just going to, first I'm going to cut them into strips, and then I am going to cut them into a little bit smaller pieces. And the reason for that is that's the best way to make sure that we're getting them cooked all the way through, and it's going to be a quick and easy way to get these made up. This salad really should not take more than about 10 to 15 minutes to put together. What I always like to mention when we start using the chicken or any other kind of meat product is we are going to have a second cutting board, or we can just flip this one over. Remember, we don't want to have any cross-contamination, especially with this recipe, because the chicken is the only thing being cooked. So nothing else is going in the heat or on the oil, and therefore whatever bacteria it's exposed to now, it's going to stay. All right? So we'll just flip this cutting board over when we're ready. We'll have a fresh sheet to go. The other most important thing I want to say is make sure you're always washing your hands again with this recipe. Because the chicken is raw and none of our other ingredients will be cooked, we want that cross-contamination to be avoided on our hands as well. We'll use different knives and spoons when mixing anytime we're touching the regular raw chicken. All right, so we'll just head back to the stove. We're just going to throw this in the pan. A quick little fix. These don't really require a lot of attention once we get to the stove. Nice, easy way to transition. We're just going to make sure we look for these to have their juices run clear. So, all right. We're going to put this onto a medium heat. Add a little bit of our olive oil, about 1 to 2 tablespoons. Remember, just looking to coat the bottom of the pan. As with any recipe we ever make, any extra vegetables or herbs that you want to add to this recipe are great. If you would like to incorporate things like onions or extra garlic into this while you're making your chicken, feel free to do that. That's always going to be to your benefit. The more vegetables we get in there, the better. All right, so once our oil's heated up just a bit, let's go ahead and get that chicken in there. Spread that around a bit. All right, remember I'm going to flip this cutting board to a fresh side. I'm going to replace my knife. And I'm going to take a 2-second break and make sure my hands are washed and ready to go. Okay, now that we're ready to get back into our recipe, we're going to go ahead and chop up our walnuts. We want those to be just lightly chopped. Again, your serving size for nuts are about 1 to 2 ounces per meal. That's going to yield about 14 grams of protein, but it's also going to yield about 180 calories. So be aware. You want to be careful if you're watching a football game or if you use nuts as a snack. Make sure you're very careful with your quantity and you're aware of what you're having. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to halve out our grapes. And we want about a cup of those. Unless you're diabetic or you're very calorie controlled, you can always add more of these into your recipe as well. They add some nice flavor in there. Grab all those stems off. Make sure you've washed all your produce and that it's ready to go. All right, we're going to dice those up. And you know, it's nice to make a nice Waldorf salad like this, even in the fall and winter months. It reminds us that our fruits and vegetables are still readily available in our grocery stores and that we can bring a healthy lunch. And we don't have to deviate from how we eat in the summer. Something that I find to be a big problem in New Ulm and Minnesota in general is that when the weather gets cold, we tend to go into our hibernation mode and we don't make as good of food choices. We turn to our comfort foods and we find ourselves eating much higher calorie foods. And so our goal is to make sure that that doesn't happen this year. We are going to swap out your unhealthy choices for those better, more healthy choices that you can make. We've also learned through our process with the Heart of New Ulm that our grocery stores are doing a great job. We have a lot of great options, very extensive produce departments, and also both of our grocers are willing to work with you. So if there's something that you're not finding in your store, make sure you let your grocer know and they can get that ordered for you. All right. And set our grapes aside. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take about 2 stalks of celery. Get those cleaned up. It's a little bit easier when you're dicing these if you rib them first. We'll cut them in half and maybe half again. We have nice small pieces. Do that with the other stalk as well. I did take just a couple seconds there. I moved our chicken around. It's starting to look pretty good. We're making sure that there's no pink that's exposed and that the juices are running clear. And that should be just done here just in a second. And our celery is set to go. So let's check on that chicken. All right, so we're still seeing a little bit of pink area. We're just going to keep that moving in the oil. Flip those bigger pieces over. We do want our chicken to get to an internal temperature of about 160 to 165 degrees. So make sure that no pink is exposed and all your juices are running clear. All right. Last thing we want to dice up then is our apples. We're just going to quarter those out. And I like to, the recipe does call for 1 medium apple. I do like to throw a little bit of extra in there. These are not that large of apples, especially the Honey Crisps. If you have Red Delicious or maybe any other variety that's going to be a little bit bigger, you're fine with 1. But again, it's one more way to get a little more fruit into our diet. So we're going to chop those up. The Heart of New Ulm is now working on our next campaign, which is our Swap It to Drop It. If you've been able to enroll in our challenge, that's a great opportunity to make sure you're following heart healthy principles and reducing 100 calories per day, whether it's through food or physical activity, and you're going to have a weight loss of about 10 pounds per year if you can swap out just 100 calories per day. Or it might be a habit such as smoking that you're able to swap out with a healthier option such as walking, and you're going to see a more marked change as well. I know there's lots of people in the community that are working on those changes. All right. In November, we'll be featuring our community summit. We'll have Dan Gable, who's an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, also the University of Iowa's coach for many, many years. He's a wonderful motivational speaker. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check our website, and you can link up with Dan Gable as well. All right, we're about through with our apples. Let's check on that chicken. All right, so this chicken now is fully cooked. Our juices are clear. We're not seeing any pink areas left on the chicken. So we'll bring that over to the counter. And then we're just going to simply mix this all together. We're going to add our lemon juice right into our dressing. Remember, that's going to help preserve the apples. It's also going to add a lot of flavor and bring out the sweetness in the fruit that we're using. So in go the walnuts. We have our apples. The celery. Very, very basic recipe. Just dicing it up, browning the chicken, and coating it with the dressing. And yet the different flavors are in here are going to really complement each other in a delicious salad. Again, this is a salad that you can bring to any event you might be attending, and it's going to be heart healthy and still is going to be quite a favorite. So try to start to transition or swap out these healthier salads for those traditional potato salads or very heavy mayo-based salads that we're used to having. We're going to add in our chicken. If you'd like, you could dice these into even smaller pieces, or if you're really crunched for time, you can use a rotisserie chicken and break that up, or you can buy the pre-cooked chicken packets and just add one of those in there as well. Those would make it an even quicker recipe. All right, once we get those mixed up, we're going to add our dressing, mix that up a bit. Again, that's a low-fat, plain yogurt and with an olive oil-based mayo. The amount of calories being added in with this being 6 portions is actually very, very low. It's going to be a very heart-healthy, good option with great flavor. The best thing to do is to let this set for a bit. Let all of the flavors work together and serve it very cold. So we're waiting for that chicken to cool off, and we'll serve that nice and cold. That's it, nice and easy. Our first recipe of the night. Let's go ahead and reset, and we'll be back.
Welcome to Fit in 5. Today we're going to do a cardio circuit workout that you can do in the comfort of your own home. We're going to do each one of these 4 moves for 1 minute or 30 seconds, depending on how much intensity you feel like using. You can go from move to move, or you can stop and rest for about 30 seconds to a minute in between. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is a jump shot. So going back to your basketball days, or if you never played basketball, here's your chance to start. But we're going to go ahead, squat, and just like we're grabbing a ball, we're going to jump and shoot. And we're going to land nice and soft, knees soft, bending from the hips. And we're going to keep doing this for 30 seconds to a minute. Now, if jumping isn't your game, you don't have to. You can take the ball, come up onto the toes, just squat down a little bit deeper when you come back down. So you're going to come up and down, up and down, up and down. You're going to do that, like I said, for a minute, 30 seconds to a minute. If you feel like you need to take a little break in between, don't just stand. Make sure that you're moving the feet side to side, looking, counting, before you go on to the next movement, which is going to be a little karate chop. Now, I have a set of weights with me here today, but you don't have to use weights to do this. I'm going to grab mine. You can also use, remember, your soup cans or your milk jugs filled with different levels of water. We're going to take the feet shoulder distance apart. We're going to bend the knees and the hips. Just like we're going to bring the elbows in, we're going to punch, pull in, and then punch, pull in. We're going to keep the lower body stable. You're going to notice my lower body doesn't do any of the work, just the upper body. Like I said, you can use weights, or you can put the weights down and just use the arms. You're going to punch, keep the elbows in nice and tight to the body. Again, we've got that core engaged, holding the body upright. Punch, punch, punch. Again, 30 seconds to a minute here. You can deepen the squat. You can speed up the movement of the arms. Again, if you feel like you need to take a little break, make sure that the feet stay moving. The next thing we're going to do is just a little hop switch. You can do this just on the floor, or if you have a box or something that you want to put in front of you to make sure that the feet stay elevated above that level, you sure can. But we're just going to start with one leg forward, and then we're just going to switch, switch, switch. And we're going to continue through this movement. Again, 30 seconds to a minute. Now again, if hopping isn't your game, then you're here, 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 really deepening the bend on each one, but keeping the chest and the spine lifted. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to hop. Same thing, if you need a little break, you're moving, marching, walking around your living room. The last move we're going to do is a kickboxing move. So we're going to go ahead, keep the knees nice and soft. We've got the arms in right here. We're going to step in. We're going to side kick and down, side kick and down, down, down. If you have something that you want to kick at, like a wall, a couch cushion, preferably not your significant other or somebody else living in the home, but you can do that. We're going to do 15 to 30 seconds on one side, and then we're going to switch, of course, because you'll be crooked, and that's not right. So we're going to kick, kick, kick. Same thing, 15 to 30 seconds on this side. And then we're done. Now you can repeat this cycle, and you can go for a longer duration if you want. So if you want to do a series and then do it all over again for a nice about 10-minute workout or so, that's great. If you've done it, you're done one time through, that's great as well. But remember, keep the feet moving until the heart rate comes down, and then make sure that you stretch afterwards. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're going to stretch the back of the legs, the hamstrings. You can bend forward. You can stretch the front of the legs just by grabbing the ankle for the quadriceps stretch. But you want to make sure stretch those muscles. After you're done, let the heart rate come back down as well. Okay, that'll provide you with a nice safe workout and prevent that muscle soreness. For Fit in 5, I'm Holly. Have a heart healthy day.
Okay, we're back with our second recipe. Our second recipe is going to be Athenian pasta Primavera. So oftentimes when we have pasta, we're looking for those dark creams, the very heavy fettuccinis, and yet we don't always want to have the marinara. This is going to give us a little bit of a different flavor, well actually a lot of different flavor, and we're going to enjoy this, and we're going to keep it heart healthy. Something new that you might not have used in the past is feta cheese. That's going to add a very distinct flavor, so watch for that at the end of the recipe. This is going to be vegetarian, however, I am using my same pan, which is going to have the, we rinsed out, and we'll have a little bit of the chicken. So if you are looking for vegetarian, make sure you're always changing out your pans as well. All right, so what we have in this is we're going to use a yellow pepper. We're going to wash that. We have our onion, our zucchini. We're using a whole wheat pasta, some baby green peas, the feta cheese, and a little bit of white wine. And our herbs are going to be just the salt and the pepper. And if you'd like, you can add some mint leaves to this as well. So that's going to add a very different flavor. Now, I didn't prefer that when I made it the first time. I did enjoy that flavor. I will leave that out tonight. But know that if you do enjoy mint, it's something that you can incorporate easily into this recipe. So this is just going to require a little bit of dicing up, and then we're going to throw these into our frying pan. It does call for these to just be sliced, so we don't need to worry about dicing the onions. I did choose a red onion. I prefer that flavor. But a yellow or a white would work fine in this as well. Now this is a pretty good size onion, so now I do enjoy onions, so I'll probably use all of this, but this is a large onion, so just know that that's going to be quite the powerful flavor in this recipe. All right, we're going to just quickly cut up our zucchini. Now zucchini take a little bit longer to soften, so you want to make sure you're cutting those nice and thin. If any of your pieces get too thick, they're going to still be a little crisp by the time we're through. If you wanted to incorporate some squash into this or some of our other vegetables, feel free to do that as well. All right. And the last thing we're going to be cutting up then is our yellow pepper. Yellow is going to have the sweeter flavor. If you like the green or the red better, it doesn't change your nutrient composition, so feel free to make that switch. Let's put those seeds aside. And we're just going to julienne these. We're not going to dice them as well. As I always like to mention, the most important tool in the kitchen is a very sharp knife. It's the best way to avoid any kind of injuries or accidents. So make sure you're sharpening those at least once a month if you're an avid cook. All right. All right, so we're going to turn back to the stove then, and we're going to get these all sauteed up. We're going to set this at a medium heat. Add our olive oil. The question I often receive is, if I don't want to pay the premium for the olive oil, am I okay with a different kind of oil? As long as it's a vegetable base, such as canola or safflower, that's going to be a fine option. Olive oil does have a distinctive flavor, so if you enjoy that, that is another reason to buy the olive oil. But the others will work just as well. We'll get those broken up. Now what I found with this recipe is that it's going to call for quite a bit of garlic, but it will overpower this recipe. So normally I encourage you to add a lot of garlic, but this is the one time that I will probably cut back on the amount of garlic I'm using. All right, put that in there. The white wine, which is going to be added to the pan here, really adds a unique flavor. While you're sauteing these vegetables is when you'd like to be boiling your whole wheat penne pasta. I've done that ahead of time to save us a little time, but do look for that whole wheat pasta. Remember, if you're having the white pasta, you're going to be lower in fiber and higher in sugar. So anytime you're choosing a pasta, make sure it's whole wheat and look for those that are highest in fiber. All right, so we're going to let these get going. And we'll get those browned up. Now the onions are going to take the longest on this. And we do want to make sure that zucchini gets cooked all the way through. So what we're looking for is our onions to start browning. Coming up in November, we'll be having our community summit. We'll have Dan Gable coming through, as mentioned, and then we'll be starting our holiday trimmings program. This has been one of our most popular programs for the Heart of New Ulm. We're working to encourage all of our residents and participants to watch their calories through the holidays. This is such a challenge for so many of us, and yet if we can get through the holidays, on average we see a 5-pound weight gain. So if we can get through, not by losing weight, but just by maintaining weight, that's really what we're looking for. So make sure you're watching for our advertisements for the holiday trimmings program. We'll weigh you in. We'll give you the program materials and supportive emails throughout the program. And then in January, we'll be back to weigh you again. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that and getting involved in the holiday trimmings. Our community summit is in November. We're currently running our Swap It to Drop It challenge. So lots of opportunities to be involved in the Heart of New Ulm right now. All right, so our onions are starting to soften. We can see they're starting to become more clear. I'm going to go ahead and add in our garlic. Now, about a teaspoon is about 1 small clove of garlic. A tablespoon is about 2 to 3 cloves, so keep that in mind when you're adding your garlic. I don't want that to be overwhelming, so we're going to add that in. I'm going to reduce my heat and keep these moving. We do want to see the zucchini start to brown a bit, and that's when we know we're going to be at our peak flavor for those as well. Zucchini are going to be high in nutrients. They're also fiber containing. Our onions too have lots of antioxidants, and of course our peppers are found to even increase our metabolism. So, this is a wonderful dish. It's going to have lots of different benefits to it, and the distinctive flavors are going to come together nicely. All right, the next thing then we want to add is our red wine or white wine vinegar. If you have white wine, if you cook that way, that's fine. This one is going to be of vinegar, non-alcoholic. It's not going to change the flavor. So you're welcome to use a regular white wine if that's how you like to cook at home. And you can smell that any kind of alcohol or vinegar burning off fairly quickly once adding this into your pan. Yeah, the color here is great. So this does look like one of our fall vegetable dishes that would be available right now. Like I mentioned, use things like squash or any of the other vegetables that you're finding at your farmer's market, or if you're getting bags from your CSAs yet, feel free to throw those in there. It's the white wine that's going to give it that Athenian flavor. All right, I think we're ready to take this off the stove. We're going to take it back over and add in our pasta. Let's get our cutting board back. Okay, so this is just going to add in. Now I have about 16 ounces of pasta here. I'm going to hold back some of that. You know, the pasta then becomes the overwhelming flavor if we don't ration that out a little bit. We don't want too much of it in there. Just take a piece of that off. Do be aware that your whole wheat is going to stick a little bit more. It has a little bit of a different texture. So if you need to add just a little bit of olive oil in your pasta to make sure that it's nice and fresh and not clumping, that's fine as well. We're going to add these vegetables in there. Put it right on top. Now we have a couple more ingredients we're going to add in here that seem to be a bit unusual, but really add great texture to this recipe. So with that, I'm going to add in some baby peas. Now these are frozen, but when added into the heated vegetables, they're going to melt nicely. About a cup of those. And we're going to top it with 3/4 a cup of feta cheese. Again, feta does have a very unique flavor, but is easy to use, a little bit lower in calorie than what we see in our regular cheeses as well. I'm going to mix that all together. And you can tell that the white wine is still prevalent. It's going to really mix with the basic and acidic of the cheese, and you're going to have a nice pasta salad. This can be served either warm or cold. Just make sure you're refrigerating it immediately, and remember it is a nice vegetarian dish as well. And that's it. 2 easy recipes that are going to be great for taking along, great for having at a family dinner, and great for keeping your heart healthy. And that's it for this week's episode of What's Cooking, New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, and I'll see you next week.